everyone. It is now 7:03. Go ahead and like to start this meeting. The Board of Aldermen of the City of Brookshire will conduct a regular meeting on Thursday, January 19th, 2023 at 7 o'clock p.m. in Council Chambers of Brookshire Municipal Building located at 4029 Fifth Street. Before we get started, I'd like to have a prayer. Okay, we get to get one. Would anyone care to volunteer?
Oh, why you always look at me?
I say that. Ms. Monique, come on.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight, Father, just grateful for being blessed with your grace and mercy every day. We ask you to guide us, give us the wisdom to make the right decisions as we make decisions not just for ourselves, but for the citizens of Brookshire. We thank you once again for just getting us here safely, and we ask that you see us home safely, back to our families. We thank you, Father, and we pray this in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Mr. Rodney, would you do the roll call for us, please? Here.
Here.
Alderwoman Taylor,
Here.
Alderman Hill,
Present.
Alderwoman Newell,
Present.
Alderman Staff,
Present.
you have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Chief Miller is there. Thank you, sir. Mr. Derrick?
I signed up on the list, but I'm getting a notification.
Oh,
Agenda item number
what number?
8.
8. And Miss Luce?
She's
She's
on
number
the
7.
agenda.
And then we have Miss Kimberly Smith. She's gonna be on that. And Miss Nika Davis. Okay, we'll move on. We'll get to y'all as we go down the line here. Agenda item number 4, discussion and possible action, review of Warley County Animal Control contract. Mr. Hill.
Mayor and Council, there's several items we asked to be on this, with this agenda item, and they're not provided, so, respectfully, let's table this until we have all the pertinent information.
If I could just add
Absolutely.
something. We continue to have, and I believe Chief Miller can help me, we continue to have problems with communications. 1 minute you call Brookshire PD and you're told we don't have animal control. Then when the call gets to me, I tell them that they do have animal control, so I have to stop, call Waller County Animal Control. There's such a lack of communication. And now they want us to, and this can't happen in all instances, they want us to have one of our officers go out and check on the animal in question. Well, if it's a stray dog, that dog is not probably going to be there by the time Waller County comes down, and I don't have time for my officer to babysit a stray dog. And I believe it was last Thursday we called Waller County Animal Control. Once again, I had to get involved. I called the sheriff. 4 or 5 hours later, they still had not seen the person that they said was en route. Mayor Branch has a application from a lady that wants to do animal control. I'm not happy with the service that we're getting, and unless we can bridge the gap of communication of what we're going to do. I mean, if they pick up a dog here, my neighbor said that his dog got out. He didn't know that there was a pound that he could call, and he's never seen his dog again. Well, I wouldn't mind being the contact person if Waller County Animal Control, we continue to go with them, to post it on Facebook. If this is your dog and you're missing it, it's now at Waller County Animal Control. We are going to have to get a communication, but being told that we don't have animal control and we're paying good money to have animal control, but then having to wait 4 and 5 hours, and then when I got involved, how many deputies? 3 deputies from Waller County ended up, not animal control, 3 deputies. And now the story is that they're only going to pick up vicious animals. Well, that doesn't work for me. That's not what I bargained for, nor is that what I believe council expended the expenditures for. So we're really going to have to get some kind of communication, and I don't want to have to call the sheriff every time that we're having a problem. So we may need to look in making a deal with Brookshire Small Animal Clinic of housing the animal, change our days from 3 days hold to a 5-day hold to give Bell's Buds time enough to find fosters. And I think the biggest problem is that citizens aren't aware of the leash law, and they let Fifi out to run the neighborhood, and that's not good business. So the other day when we called, by the time Chief Miller put the dog in his police unit and it bounced all over the place, it didn't take us 30 minutes to find the owner. Is that true and correct? I mean, communication is the key, and if we can do it on our own, see how much it costs us to have our own animal control and educate the citizens, I would like to go back to us doing our own thing. So I will try once again to communicate with Waller County Animal Control and see can we understand what's going on. I don't want to throw them away, but I don't want to spend that much money and get very little service. Thank you.
I'm in agreement with you, Ms. Branch. I think that also we need to, like you said, to form a relationship with a local clinic so that we have somewhere safe for them to be housed. I would entertain the option of council taking a look at any ordinances that we have pertaining to animals. If we have anything to lost animals or ones that are picked up by animal control, the biggest thing I think that's going to make the difference into it not being a problem, like you said, is education on the leash laws. Also, the dogs are wandering. A lot of dogs are wandering whenever they're not spayed or neutered, when they're not sterilized. They're wandering because hormones are talking to them. And so if we have some sort of way to, or in order to pick up your animal from the pound or from the clinic, you have to provide proof that they have been sterilized. If not, then they have to be sterilized before you can take them home. If we start spaying and neutering animals, it's going to start decreasing the problem and decreasing the stray pets that we have. We also have a major problem with cats right now. Major problem with cats. And we need to figure out a way. It's not, I know we've seen things on social media. Veterinarians are not charity services. This is the reason why veterinarians don't make a whole lot of money, is because everybody thinks that they want to try to get something for free from them. But if we can figure out something to where we have a certain number of cats so we can spay and neuter maybe for a discounted price or something like that, and then you'd be able to mark them that they are sterilized and then let them back go, then they can help keep rodent problems at bay, but at least not be breeding uncontrollably.
I don't want to put the lady's name out in public without her permission, but there's a lady in town that picks up these cats. They were mainly from Church's Chicken, because there's a whole lot of them over there.
She bet you by their dumpsters.
And she had them fixed, and then
They notch
clip
the ear, yes.
the ear to let
Yes.
you know that
And
they're.
that's so that if they're feral and they can't be handled, you can at least see from a distance that they're sterilized. Otherwise, they normally tattoo the inside of a leg, but if you can't get close to the bitey end of a cat,
Right.
you can at least see that they've been sterilized. So if you trap them, you can see the notched ear. That's a common practice in a lot of different places. But I know like Harris County and other municipalities have very strict rules and regulations about pet ownership. Purchasing a special rabies tag. If you wanted to keep your animal intact, meaning an intact female or an intact male, you'd have to buy a special certificate for it. So it's going to cost you if you want to keep your animal intact, because the fact of the matter is an intact animal comes with a lot more liability and risks and things like that. That's how we're ending up with all these different litters, and the dogs and themselves and the cats themselves are not healthy. So it's not even a humane thing to allow them to continue to run the way that they are. So
Something that we need to seriously get on.
yes, quickly too. I'm in agreement with you.
We'll move on, go with no action on table to the next agenda item. Number 5, discussion and possible action regarding hotel motel grant. Tony?
Before we,
Mayor.
I don't know what happened to the podium, but I'll try to speak loudly.
well, just a moment.
Hold on just a second, Mr. McAnally. Mayor, I think that we would like to speak with legal counsel before we let Mr. McAnally go any further. And if we could postpone Mr. McAnally till we get down to
Number 12.
executive session, or maybe number 12, but we'd like to speak to Mr. Pruitt before we move forward with Mr. McAnally.
All in favor?
Sorry if that messes your
I'll second that.
program up. Don't forget what you were gonna say.
Okay, even though I asked, I need to go and finish. Mr. Stamps?
4.
Ms. Nundall?
4.
And Ms. Taylor?
4.
Okay. Okay, now we'll go to agenda item number 6. Discussion and possible action regarding material, color selection, and change orders of the convention center.
I'll speak on a portion of this, and I'll let Ms. Franklin speak. She's put in here 2 things. There's one that's an estimate, or there's 2 different estimates, I apologize. 2869 is the one I'd like council to look at first. As expected, there were several things that have kind of been discovered as they've started the process. And you see those items kind of outlined and the pictures to kind of support some of the issues that are there. The hot water tank is rusted out, and a lot of these electrical outlets are not up to, they may be close to code. I'm not going to say they're not up to code, but it's probably not good to have exposed electrical wires in a convention center that's going to get used. So kind of the first sets of items there are stuff that just had to be done. And then there's some suggested adds in the lower portion. And then she has also quoted us on the second quote if we want to go ahead and take care of the exterior and address some of the issues there. And so with that, I'll let her discuss colors and some of the additions that need to be discussed.
So some of you guys were able to come over before the meeting and take a look at tile samples and colors on the wall, and there were varying opinions on those. So, the only thing I can say is about the paint, we would just need a choice on that fairly soon. In all of your packets, I attached a couple of color swatches. The light green color is what we were proposing for the walls on the interior, and then that, the shiitake, kind of taupe color was for the trim, along the baseboards and in the kitchen and then out in the large area. It certainly isn't set in stone. We painted a large sample of it on the wall in the kitchen over there, which I know some of you all would like to see. And then, we brought over 4 samples of some popular tiles right now, some 12 by 24 inch tiles that are in the gray family that match these colors. These were picked out by my decorator. I am no decorator, but we use a color palette from Sherwin-Williams for 2023 hospitality commercial looks, and she based her choices off of that. The 4 tile is a nice, there's several choices there that are all within the budget of the job that are really popular right now. Certainly could look at other choices. The tile is not as important of a choice eminently as the wall colors and the trim. So we're pretty much ready to start that. And then the plugs and switches, not only are they in terrible shape, they look awful. Most of them have been painted over. The ones that haven't, the switch plates are different colors than plugs. All of the dimmers are missing their knobs, so it would just be both from a safety standpoint and from an aesthetic standpoint, nice to be able to change those out for y'all. The other large item on there is changing from, so what we had originally quoted was to put FRP on the walls up to 4 feet high. That's that sort of pebbled, plastic-looking panels that you see sometimes in commercial bathrooms or in kitchens. I wanted to give you an option to change that to tile, or use the same tile as the floor and go up the wall, just because it's a very permanent solution, and it's also a very, it looks nicer when you uplift it. So I know it's a big cost add, so just, I'm throwing it out there. So, and if anybody has any questions, I put some pictures on here of some of the stuff. The skylights up top, the white area that you see is where I cleaned. The little black squares that you see in the white areas, the skylights are 2 layers, and those are in between the layers. We don't know what they are, but we can't get to them. So black things are gonna have to stay, but we can definitely make the skylights look better than they look now. Interior window cleaning is included in what you've already approved for the job. On the paint estimate for exterior, I have exterior window cleaning on that. But it's all line item, we can pull any one of those out and do it separately if you decide not to paint now, but you want to have the windows cleaned. Anybody have any questions?
I sort of like the tile going up because people have a tendency, and I'm probably one of those people, that I lean up against the wall and the first thing I do is bring my foot up and mess up the paint because my boot print is now on the wall.
I thought you were going to talk about overspray. So that was. I was thinking the men's restroom, little young tykes who don't quite understand.
Yeah,
All of these are
but
taken
that's,
from that
Amy?
So when you started saying me, I was like, wait a second, this is about to be a vastly different conversation tonight.
I was distinctly talking about the hallway to the kitchen. No restroom talk here, Mr. Hill.
All right.
We do have all the lights done. If anybody wants to poke their head over there and see, it's a whole lot brighter
It
now
is a
than
whole
it
lot
was
brighter.
before. And we're working on, we're almost ready to start painting. So we cleaned up really good today and kind of passed most of the dust making. Still gotta do the bathrooms, but it won't be too dusty.
I'm a firm believer, while we're in there, let's just get it done.
Yeah.
And I think
me
it looks
too.
beautiful, and we need to, start leasing out the space and have a nice place that we can rent and not just make revenue, but something that represents the city, and it's long overdue.
Right.
What was the opinion of everyone else on the color selection options?
I like the interior and the exterior color. I think I had a different flooring choice.
I think,
You're in the minority on that.
That's why everybody went there separately. There was no influencing of the decision.
Number 4, the branches, I think.
I like number 3 tile.
That's
Yeah.
number
I just think the longer lines, I think will make the space seem bigger, like from an aesthetic standpoint. It can, if you put it especially lengthwise in the hallway, it'll make the hallway look longer. The number 3 was a little bit darker, so it picked up some of the tones of that silversmith. And then you mentioned going in with a darker grout already. And so there won't be too much of a contrast between the grout color and the tile color. So it won't look like black and white.
I suggested a dark grout color because in that.
It's gonna
dark
stain
grout,
anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the time you mop it 400 times, it's gonna be dark.
And trying to bleach it is gonna ruin the grout and things like that.
Right, yeah.
well, I'm not Martha Stewart, so whatever y'all want to go with. If we was talking about dirt and flowers, I might could participate, but I'm just gonna keep my opinion to myself.
The other thing that I would be helpful if you guys would make a choice on, so Alderman Hill said that we wanted to change all the wall sconces, and then there's 9 of those. 7 of them didn't even have electrical boxes at all, just a lot of hanging
Oh,
on the
super.
walls, so we
Yeah.
fixed that. I gave you some lighting choices to look at, in the package here. My decorator, suggested because of the color of the frame around the windows, that any of these 3 that were bronze colors, I tried to pick more budget-minded choices, so everything in here is below $200. And these are like some larger sconces, 16, 17 inches long.
That'd be pretty.
They're all LED, so you don't have to mess with bulbs burning out down the road.
Okay.
And, so, whatever you would think. on that.
2.
Yeah.
Or I
That
can
was
let
pretty
you pick.
Which one?
Number
I
2.
tried to pick,
What-
one
what
that's
did-
too expensive.
This
Number
one,
2.
I like one.
This one here,
Yeah, I like that one.
I like that one as
Like
well.
the hammered look. It looks like it.
It's almost got a coppery,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
dark.
Patina to it.
All of these are in stock and readily available also, which we always have to consider right now.
So was there a majority consensus on the color?
It's gonna be a little bit more clean line.
Here's the color that-
Actually, we were back there.
What sample?
He liked one, I liked something else. That's happened for the last 33 years, so we're throwing the branches vote out on this then.
Is this what the bathrooms are going to look like?
The lighter
So,
color
right,
to me
so,
will keep
I
it
gave,
brighter in there versus that darker. I didn't,
so the,
That's the silver.
it's a commercial grade, so it's supposed to be easier. to
Yes.
walk.
I thought you were talking about that one.
That for the trim.
This is just
Yes.
an example of the type of bathroom enclosure you're gonna get.
Yeah, for the wall.
partitions. And then, we had, if you go with the wall color that we picked out, we kinda like this gray with the
Powder
white
coated?
speckled, it's all powder coated steel.
That's nice.
And, super reasonably priced for
That'll be one.
what you're getting.
This one?
So-
Yeah.
But that,
And I think that looks really good with that cement color, so.
with that definitely would be number 1 then.
That's what I
Yes.
like. That's what I said one.
Because I said this one, and then I was like, wait a second. If the bathrooms are going to look more clean line like this,
Yeah.
this one almost looks a little bit more rustic. And I think this first
Mayor,
one.
which one did you like?
No comment.
Did you even look at it?
I have trained you well.
It's like, put a floodlight in there.
That's how it's taken.
Right. Was there a commonality on the floor tile?
I think there was a majority, but
What was the
That's
number?
great.
It's got a little speckle to it, just something that's
did you get the floor
not, it's not shiny, so it's not gonna show.
Yeah.
I told 3.
Was there a consensus on the floor tile? Sounds like Silver Mist was the wall color.
I think it was well, we had two, cause I think me and you had the same, and then Amanda was different, so.
Yeah.
For the floor, so.
And flow, what was the majority on that? I mean,
There wasn't one.
Right.
oh,
That's
it was
what I'm
that
saying.
split?
The branch is kinda like
Oh, yeah, so
He
it was,
doesn't get a vote unless he's breaking a tie.
so it's three different, it was three different kinds then.
like
Wow.
number 4. You like
Three.
number 3. Jeremiah liked number 1.
Oh, Lord.
I like
And I think Branch liked
And the
something
second
that
one,
was
you liked
over
You
number
like one?
three.
Yeah.
Well,
That was
then
the
technically
third-
they
that
won.
was, it was like 1, 2,
It's
3.
like a gray, but it
So
has like
mine
a
was the third one
striping.
then.
Well, she
It-
moved
It
one
was a darker.
over there.
To
'Cause
the
I wanted to
first
see
one?
it up against the color. Yeah.
You liked the one
Number
on the
one
far
was
right.
technically number three.
Yeah, but it was
Darker
one
gray.
then, that one then, it was
A
two
darker
on
gray
this side.
tile, but it almost
So I
looks
like, I guess it was the second one, I don't know. I didn't know y'all had them numbered.
Well, I had
The
some
other
blue
ones were
tape
like
on 'em, but
modeled,
honestly,
almost like this
we don't
model,
have
and I was
to
like,
make
that
it
looks dirty, that's why I said,
I mean, we're still a good week
they're
down.
three, I was like.
So if
number
we just
four
done the
is similar
paint
to it, but
and
lighter.
went back and looked
I
at
like
the
the
tile,
And it's not a,
you'd be good with
it's
that?
not a big difference in
Okay.
darker. I mean, we're talking like this and maybe like a little bit darker than that. It's not,
So was that 3?
yeah,
I'll get those ordered.
so then it's a tie between 3 and 1.
Ferguson is right down the road I'm at.
That's where they're.
It'll be number 3 for me too, man. Number 3.
3 it is.
I think it must be number 3.
I described
She broke it down for me.
So number 3 on the floor tile?
Yes. It's dark, so
I don't remember what it was.
I don't know, that's what I'm saying, cause I got messed up.
y'all's number 1 was the same as 3, but lighter.
Okay.
It's like, it has that striation
Perfect.
pattern to it,
Yeah,
but it's
got
lighter.
long pattern.
And this one is just like a touch darker, and she said that the grout color may match it a
Okay,
little bit
let's-
better.
Let's do
That's
this.
fine,
Let's do it.
and we doing, one on these.
Which one on the sconce? Okay.
Yeah.
You ready for a
One.
motion, Mayor?
one on the lights.
What?
You ready for a
Okay.
motion?
Yes.
We're through with Martha Stewart stuff.
Make a motion, we approve estimate number 2869, 2870, with the color selection of the walls as Silver Mist. The trim selection as shiitake, number 3 on the floor tile, and number 1 of whatever page this was on the sconce.
But not 2870, right? We haven't discussed the exterior stuff.
I thought we just looked through it a second ago.
We can do both at the same time, because the exterior was just colors, right?
We hadn't approved colors on the exterior now.
No, and you don't have to do that at all right now. Colors are to be determined, but if you
Sure.
want to talk about it, if you have questions about it, here I am, and there's pictures of past, but, like the walls outside where the overspray's been on for so many years, this was before, and this is, well, I just did a little spot to show you what we can make it look like.
Mm.
We just cleaned them up, put some enhancer on them. There's a big hole in the soffit that looks like a truck probably ran into it back at the drive-through a while back. That certainly would need to be fixed before we paint. You know, maybe get some critters in there. And then that set of doors on the water heater closet, are rusted out. And not a need for those to have windows in them, so I would just replace them with solid, all metal doors. Just maybe some small ones.
So should we just do the interior tonight, or do y'all wanna do the exterior too?
So just go ahead and move forward.
That's, yeah, I mean,
It needs to be finished.
It
She's
needs
already
to
gonna have,
Finished.
my
That's
thoughts are,
long
she's
time.
already gonna have labor here for other
Yeah.
things.
that's where I was
Then
thinking.
go ahead and start.
Well,
And
We-
they've been pretty efficient so far. I mean, I know we kinda
I
had an
think
agreement
they've
on-
made great headway and
Yeah,
That was kind of my thought
I'm
process with
pleased.
the, let's just go ahead and get it done while we're at it.
let's do it.
Does your motion still stand for both?
It does.
Second?
Mr. Stamps,
4.
Taylor,
4,
and Ms. Branch.
Or,
Motion carries.
Thank you
and
all
if
so
y'all
much.
don't like those colors, don't blame the branches.
So at a meeting down the road, we can talk about colors for the exterior at some point. I'll put some samples up outside around back where y'all can look at them. Just drive by, you don't even have to get out of the car.
I'll come by and we'll talk.
Yes.
No, remember, you don't have a vote. You said-
I
I'm
said
I'm
talk.
listening.
I didn't say nothing else. Okay,
Marty Garothy.
thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We are ready for agenda item number 7. Discussion and possible action regarding a request to open a mobile food truck at 1018 Bain Street. Ms. Luce?
Buenas noches a todos. Yo estoy aquí solamente hoy para ver,
One of y'all.
cuál sería la solución que me van a dar a si voy a poder abrir mi taquería que está en la 10-18 que tomen en cuenta todo el esfuerzo que he hecho estos últimos meses por mantener mi taquería allí. Y pues que a la gente le gusta, que al pueblo le gusta la comida de nosotros.
She says she's here today because she wants to open a food
Oh,
store.
get out. No,
At
just-
1018 Baines.
Good job.
Yeah,
Good job.
Okay, she said she wanna know like, what your decision for her, my English is not a good, I'm a try. That, we're open, the taco stand, that she's all the time working over here, they got taco stand over there. She's working right here in the town for maybe 12 years already. And, they wanna know like, what is your decision for her opening again?
We got big problems. Mucho big problems.
Mucho big room.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dave, you wanna,
Sure. They've brought dirt in
Mhm.
without going before BKDD to discuss any drainage. There's also a shed erected now. Y'all have also run electric on the property, and I believe plumbing, and none of that's been permitted or approved at all.
in no way could it be approved.
Yeah, that's highly illegal how it was run.
Okay, by the light, okay, by the light,
Yo soy Mr. Tim.
yeah, their guy,
Él me dijo que fuera con la luz, que no era nada nuevo.
Let me stop you there.
I was fixing to say, you can stop right there. Mr. Tim told you very wrong. And Mr. Tim no longer works for the city of Brookshire. So that's not a good place to start.
quiere decir que usted puso electricidad y agua sin permiso por 2 años y por eso no le dieron el permiso para abrir la tienda.
No, pero la electricidad no la puse yo. La electricidad yo le dije a Mr. Tim y me dijo que si yo no iba a poner ninguna electricidad nueva de arriba, que yo podía haber abierto el viernes. Y la agua es solamente una manguera, no es
Yeah, we know.
una manguera que está tirada.
Yeah, we know, and it's illegal. And if something had happened in the meantime of Mr. Tim telling her that was okay, the city could have been in major problems. And then she started operating after she knew, because we told her when she came that she had to December the 31st, and there was nothing promised after December the 31st. And with all the problems that we've had with this, they first started off with the culverts. Y'all remember the culverts?
Yep.
Now we've had the electrician issues, we've had too many issues, and now BKDD is saying that they've put too much dirt in there that is gonna cause flooding problems to the neighbors. And all of this, and my sure. Well,
No.
it should have never been done that way from the time that she started, I believe, probably in September or October. Everything she done was totally illegal.
Okay, so está diciendo que hasta la tierra que le pusieron en la propiedad no está bien, porque todo eso tiene que tener permiso para que se lo hagan. Todo lo que hizo el agua, la luz, la tierra, todo es ilegal por la ciudad de Brookshire.
Well, I can't speak for my
Okay, let me,
code.
That's it para arreglar esto. So what can she do moving forward?
well, just a moment. I know BKDD and their representatives here came by and informed y'all, and y'all stopped work on the dirt. So she has been informed. Code enforcement's been over there a couple of times, and the police have been over there and shut her down after her permit expired and she didn't come in to get a new one. So right now she has no legal permit to operate, which is really what's on the agenda tonight. Even if council approves tonight to grant her another permit to operate the food truck, because that's all she was given a permit to do, was run the truck. The electrical, you can't run electrical from somebody else's property over to another property, and she doesn't even own the property. So that can't be done. She ran water from another property over to that property. That can't be done.
And we're separate.
And
from
all
the
this
water
dirt
district.
that's been brought in has to be taken out, and then she's gonna have to start the application process with BKD, a separate entity, of is it gonna offshed water onto someone else's property? Because by law, and not City of Brookshire, state and federal, you can't flood someone else's property. You know, there has to be a mitigation for any drainage that you try to offset on your property. So, I mean, the problem we have is there's multiple issues. So even if, in my opinion, a permit was approved tonight, it would have to be a conditional of all those issues being fixed first. Yeah, so I mean, if she needs power, she'd have to legally go to Centerport or whomever it is to bring in power to that site. If she needs water, she'd have to go to the water district, which is a separate entity, to get that approved. And it's gonna take time, but you can't just do stuff, I mean, and say you didn't know.
Let's not forget the fruit stand that was put up
Right.
on 359, that they had no permit to sell fruit.
So, lo que estoy diciendo es que usted a lo mejor puede agarrar otro permiso temporarily para que pero y entonces tienen que arreglarlo so lo que están diciendo es lo que hizo ilegal es traer agua de otra propiedad o luz de otra propiedad. Es que ellos están diciendo que usted tiene que poner su propia agua.
Pero la luz,
Y luego la
la quise, yo metí la aplicación para el permiso con una
It's not legal though. It's not legal.
If you're ready for a motion, I'll make a motion.
I'm ready.
y luego la compañía que le puso la tierra, no sé qué pasó, no sé qué pasó con eso, pero
Start the application process, then come back and then get it all set.
20-something thousand
Well,
to get a
the
tap
last
and a
meeting, we cut Daddy Duncan all the way off.
For
We
one
said no
violation.
more food trucks. Let's just cut it, make it
meto la aplicación para ponerla
very simple.
For a motion?
He's waiting.
luz para empezar.
It must be denied has to be-
pero porque para que yo les diga, ¿por qué no se la quieren?
There's nothing to talk to. Whenever you're ready.
You guys can just keep going. So Mayor, you don't have to wait for the discussion to end. You can.
Okay,
Ma'am,
ma'am.
She hired the electric company to come put the light at the property, that it was, something happened with the city and it was denied and they weren't able to do it.
But she
That's
did it
correct.
anyway.
Right, I think that's what we're talking about, because there's electricity there now.
So you can't say, I didn't know I was supposed to, but you hired someone who said they did and it got turned down and they just did it anyway.
Because a property owner can't give permission to just tap in to them, and neither can
Well, they.
For
plumb-
water.
They dug a trench
to put a
and
conduit.
ran from the adjoining property and then stubbed it up.
I know,
and
that's what I
put a
mean,
box
but I
there.
mean, like, even as a property owner, you can't just give your neighbor permission to tap into your electric, that's illegal, you have to have your own separate meter.
Okay,
so let's just keep it simple. That's
I'm
the
ready
deal.
for a motion.
Make the motion that we deny the request to open a mobile food truck at 1018 Bain Street.
Second.
Mr. Stamps,
Four.
Ms. Newendorf,
Or,
and Ms. Taylor.
Or
Thank you, motion carries. Let's move on to, we're skipping A, right?
Yes.
No,
no, he's here.
Oh,
Yeah, sir.
I'm sorry.
I thought they said we're on the eight.
Oh,
Okay, agenda item number 8 is discussion and possible action regarding a presentation by Grant Works regarding ARPA fundings.
Thank you, Mayor.
State your name for us, please.
Derek Katz-Nelson with company Grantworks, Inc. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Board of Aldermen, for having me tonight. I'd like to go ahead and present on the ARPA program. It's a federal funding agency, but I'll wait for the presentation to load up.
We're gonna have difficulties tonight. We're gonna have difficulties tonight.
Beats the magic.
That's good.
It works. So you're magic.
That's what I was saying.
Thank you so much. I am Derek Katz-Nelson. I'm the City of Brookshire's project manager for the American Rescue Plan Act through Grantworks, Inc. This is my face here and my phone number. If you have any questions or anything comes up, email also works as well. Next page. This is Grantworks kind of a tip sheet on sort of all our supporting activities. It's not just me. It's a grand team behind us, behind me, and with the organization itself to go ahead and help the city guide them through the process of expending their funds with the American Rescue Plan Act funds. So there's a few things that we do and a few number of teams. We do environmentals, acquisitions. Big kind of highlighting point is procurement and contracting. That's really been the issue with the American Rescue Plan Act at the moment. And we have a full team to go ahead and provide that. So now we're going to go ahead and talk about the specific funding agency. It's the American Rescue Plan Act. It's the second of two large bills proposed by the federal government to help the country manage the fiscal crisis created by the COVID-19 pandemic. So you all may be familiar with the CARES Act. That was for the initial response to COVID with vaccination programs, things along that nature, and that was a reimbursable program. For the second item, the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, this is the specific funding source that the city has received. There's another one that recently just passed as well. It's called the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Those are three sets of bills that were passed by Congress to help cities and counties go ahead and recover from the fiscal impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. You may see this also, it's CSFLFRF. That's the Fiscal Recovery Funds acronym. That ARPA is a bigger bill, but this is kind of the site-specific for the ARPA funds. So yeah, there's a little bit of difference. If you're familiar with CARES Fund, it was primarily reimbursable, and ARPA is recovery focused, so it's immediately in the city's bank account, and you can use it for its spend down and stimulus in the recovery to respond and recover. So instead of direct initial kind of response to it, it's a recovery stimulus kind of action. And this is straight from the final rule itself. It says, build strong, resilient, and equitable recovery by making investments that support long-term growth and opportunity. So as we've seen with the ARPA program, and with many federal programs themselves, they go ahead and get clarified along the way. In April 1st, 2022, the final rule came out, and that provided further direction on the use of the funds. They became very flexible. They're mostly able for many things. There are some limits and exclusions other than pensions, bond or debt service or judgments or liens. There are other exceptions as well, and happy to run any eligibility past me if anything comes up along the project selection process that may come on through. So this is the overview of the Brookshire's ARPA grant. The total allocation was $1 million, and the remainder after the GrantWorks fee is $911,472.84. There's 4 eligible use categories. One is responding to the COVID health emergency or to negative economic impacts, including assistance and aid to households, small businesses, nonprofits, and impacted industries, provision of premium pay, provision of government services, investment, water, sewer, or broadband. So I have a bit of examples that are upcoming. This is the first one. These are these assistants. These can be given to nurses, for example, say like a hospital program, something along those lines. This is premium pay. This is a little bit expanded in the next section when we get to it, but it's an additional kind of service for lower income folks to go ahead and provide an additional wage on top of the wage they've already been getting. And I do want to highlight this one. The ARPA allocation for the city of Brookshire falls wholly within the provision of government services. So this is basically a catch-all umbrella, other than those judgment liens and pensions that go ahead and provide. So any government services that are out there, road improvements, playgrounds, splash pads, streets, culverts, it's an all big catch-all. And then there's the next one that also covers water, sewer, and broadband. In addition to sort of the hard infrastructure that is available here, there's also different testing and planning studies that can be presented as well. So I'll go ahead and pause here for questions. Are there any questions on the eligibility criteria or anything along the American Rescue Plan Act?
Because the city of Brookshire and Brookshire Municipal Water District is two separate entities, how would that work for the city of Brookshire?
So Brookshire elected to go ahead and provide an allocation to the water district itself. It's possible that an interlocal could be drafted between them to go ahead and provide the service.
I think that we've decided at the last city council meeting that we were not doing that. Am I correct in stating that?
I know we had some discussion. I don't think, we're not being asked to make a decision tonight on it.
No, it's not a decision. This is kind of like a ARPA 101, just to kind of get you all familiar with the ARPA program, and then we can go ahead and group back up in a workshop type format. We can do community surveys, we can do departmental sort of reports, but this is more kind of educational, informational, not necessary to make
Okay.
decisions.
If we were to keep the allocations for the water district or for infrastructure, Mr. Pruitt, would we be able to apply stipulations to those funds?
I mean, that's probably the grant works to respond to
Yes,
that.
definitely. You can
Like,
provide.
could we make a motion to say, like, we would provide these funds to the water district pending that they fulfill X, Y, Z?
Yeah, in a future, yeah, and this one too, yeah, I think so. Depending on the stipulations are available, to go ahead and add on to specific contract language, which I'll probably have to work with, the city attorney on.
If you see page 17, it kind of gives some examples of what I assume other cities have done.
Yeah, so other municipalities and clients, if we want to go ahead and move forward, these, for project 2102, this was a prior project that was RFQ'd back in the day for the roof repair. So it hasn't yet moved forward currently, but it's still on the table if y'all would like to consider it. It was, but we can go ahead and move forward and select projects at a later date too.
So I guess a question, maybe for clarification, is the city of Brookshire, right, are they set in stone about what projects they have to get
No,
funded?
this
So
is
it's- so we're still in
completely,
discussion?
There's suggestions or options?
yeah, exactly, examples.
Have you worked with other municipalities that have utilized these funds yet?
Yes.
What would you say is the most popular?
Most popular, probably equipment. We're seeing a lot of truck purchases,
Okay,
things along that lines.
infrastructure,
Infrastructure, culverts, we've seen,
it's expensive.
there's water, I have a water well up in Belleville.
Mhm.
They're working on that one. One's doing dash cam footage and like subscription services. There's an accounting service. It's basically a grab bag, to be
Okay.
honest. There's a number of different like kind of options out there. Each city has their own needs and priorities and kind of like
Sure.
preferences. Premium pay, bonuses, roads are usually pretty popular topics and projects. these software subscription for kind of staff has been kind of cool. Definitely some reporting and file conversions. Seeing one where they're doing platting. They're just kind of moving it to digitization. But yeah, we see a lot of this too. Kind of like different different equipment, a lot of kind of public works, that type of stuff.
Well, who's going in and out making that beeping noise?
I think there's an alarm going off in the bathroom. I
In
said that earlier.
that room, in the men's room.
So,
Yeah.
let's say we had a project in mind. In theory, what's the time frame moving forward? My understanding, I guess, let me preface. My understanding is we actually have these funds in our possession right now.
Yes, they're
Is that correct?
in the account right now. So
Okay.
they were filtered down through Treasury, through TDM, and the second tranche I think hit back in October
Okay.
of this last year.
So in theory, we have the funds right now. What is our process moving forward? I know you mentioned workshops. What tangibly do we need to do to
Well,
move forward?
you're right. Yeah, it would be kind of selecting the projects, picking out which ones to move forward with. For an infrastructure projects, I know the basic kind of flow is go out for RFQ, get an engineer on board. The engineer goes ahead and designs and plans. Then the engineer goes ahead and posts an RFP for the construction, and the construction is managed through it. So timeframe, the end of 2024 to get all contracts signed. So that's 2 years. It is a bit of a short fuse on some infrastructure projects.
Yeah.
So definitely time frame. I was gonna come
But-
back and make a visit, depending on sort of the choice of how to decide to have a workshop together. We can have a workshop format. If you have a project, we could go put it on the agenda and approve it, go before a vote. There's a chance to do sort of a departmental priority list where sort of the departments come in and make their requests and go through there. And we can roll those all into a workshop there and take action at the next council meeting after that.
Okay. Well, that would be worst case scenario. Things like software, we're just talking timelines. I'm sorry, she asked a question. If we were to just say, hey, we're spending the $911,000 just on software, not saying we will, but just a suggestion, that could be done in a few months. That's not going to
Yeah,
take to
correct.
2024. So
Correct.
long range projects, like if we were to say go through a street and redo all the culverts, could take up to 2 years.
The infrastructure type
Um,
projects.
But other projects could take as little as 30 or so days, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
For procurement, sometimes depending on the level of procurement, sort of the thresholds for it, those can possibly be about 6 weeks to 8 weeks, depending on if it's an RFP. Threshold about $50,000.
Okay. Would it be? Sure.
If I understand it correctly, we just have to have it contracted by 2024.
Yes, that's correct. Completed
So
by
we completed by,
2026, end of 2026.
so we're good with a
Variety of issues.
options.
So would it be appropriate for a motion to direct the mayor and or city administrator to have a meeting with department heads, let them kind of do their wish list, that kind of stuff, and then bring that back to a workshop? Would that be reasonable?
Without Ernest Kelly, 'cause he'll want a
Oh.
no.
He told me earlier.
Oh, he ain't even in
Talking
even
here,
in here.
man.
He ain't here.
Trying to make a jokey back there.
Ready for a motion.
Yes,
So
sir.
so council just mentioned a wish, is this part of your presentation, the wish list for the
Mhm.
city?
Right, yes. Wish list, go ahead and have the wish list sort of, and I can help with that process too, to get the wish list together if
Sure.
need be. It would be just kind of if you had any ideas kind of at this initial stage, to go ahead and talk through or discuss further.
Kelly, while you were indisposed, they said that they was gonna ask heads up departments. Mr. Kelly,
Yes, ma'am.
you was in the bathroom not paying attention to me. Now you out here not paying attention to
You
me.
have to go check on that alarm.
I'll send it back down.
Oh, okay. Well, they said that the department heads could do a wish list, And I said, everybody except Ernest Kelly, 'cause he'll want another great all and 4 dump trucks and 3 other trucks. So,
Kelly's doing penance.
if you done,
Doing penance.
you know, if they said Miss Branch talked about you and you weren't in the room, yes, I did, but I made it back up to you. You know what I
He's
said?
doing penance right now. We're not entertaining anything.
Yes.
Okay, motion?
This week's behavior.
I move that we direct the mayor and/or city administrator to have discussions with staff to determine wish list and then schedule a workshop for us to discuss those items.
Second.
Ms. Newendorf?
4.
Taylor?
4.
And Ms. Branch?
4.
Okay, motion carries.
I have one question. It's not about the ARPA grants. It's about the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act.
Right?
Just extremely general. Like, what's the timeline on that? Like, what to the city? Can we do anything now to prepare for that?
Oh, yeah.
That
Certainly,
works.
there's a number of broadband grants that I'm personally aware of.
Uh-huh.
I could get some more information probably and send along
Do you know
Tip
general
sheet.
timeline
I-
of distribution on that?
I'm not quite, I wouldn't know off the top of my head. I apologize. But I can probably get you some information of sort of the timeline for those grants. I think it was passed in, I want to say November, but I may be mistaken. But it's kind of broadband. There's a number of funding sources out there. The one that I'm familiar most is the broadband stuff. But I can get you some more information if you're curious. Definitely.
Thanks.
Okay, agenda item number 9. Discussion and possible action regarding ordinance 23-707-15, or ordinance amending section 40-117 of the city code of ordinance to allow commercial vehicles on 800 feet west of Waller Avenue on South.
So, Mayor and Council, this is just to paper up what you took action on last meeting. So last meeting, you didn't have the actual ordinance change, but this is the actual ordinance change for it. So, and this is just what it'll allow is, if you approve it, it'll be like it says, 800 feet from South Street. I mean, not from South, from Waller Avenue, west 800 feet to allow through commercial traffic, essentially meaning semi-trucks on South Street for that portion of the road.
Move to approve ordinance 23-707-15.
Second.
Mr. Stamps?
4.
Mr. Hill?
Against.
And Ms. Taylor?
4.
If I could just say for council, I know it's already been approved, but I watched 4 trucks meander through that area earlier this week, and this is going to be a huge mistake for the residents that are going to be subjected to a bunch of 18-wheelers if this goes through. And I think we've made a mistake by approving it. That's all I'd like to say.
And I'm sorry, I missed the last meeting, but that was the same thing I had said prior to. But being that I thought this was already something that you guys had discussed and was wanting to move forward with, so that was the reason why.
I voted against.
Okay.
This one is the ordinance change, just for clarification from last meeting, in order to allow it. However, what was discussed was that the Black Panther truck wash still has to go through a bunch of different permitting processes in order to get approved. So if that entire project falls through, council can easily come back and amend the ordinance once again in order to remove it. But this just allows them to at least seek out the opportunity to put that business there. If they come to find out that they can't put the business there, then it's all a wash anyway. And we just go back and
Is there a reserve provision or something that we're going to watch this? So if it falls through at some point, we come back and we repeal what we just approved? Because technically this repeals or makes an amendment to the existing ordinance. Permanent.
So Ms. Newendorf's right. All you got to do is just change the ordinance. And so, I mean, again, there's a lot of steps that this group's gonna have to take through the city of Brookshire, a lot of steps through
TxDOT.
the water district, a lot of steps through the drainage district, a lot of steps through TxDOT.
Yes.
And so but they were just wanting, they were kind of doing like a reverse thing that normal would happen. They wanted to get this approved first, just to make sure that they could have a green light to go and start seeing what it's gonna cost to do the other stuff. And so, I mean, it may come out that before anything is even done, they find out that the cost is too prohibitive to do anything, and then we'll know about that. And so,
Because TxDOT can actually order them to do road improvements from Waller Avenue all the way through on South Street, and also have to develop, was that Ninth?
yes.
And so what they were saying was, well, whenever we look into it, in order to do the road improvements, if we find out it's too cost prohibitive, then the guy's gonna say, forget it, and put the property up for sale and be done with it. So,
Well, we haven't done anything yet, so if I could rescind my motion, I would like to rescind my motion not to.
Your vote.
it's our,
I mean, you
It'll
can
be
put
your
it back
vote,
for
not your
another
motion.
vote if you'd like to do that. And so, I mean,
Wait, did you second it?
No, I voted for it.
Okay, so it's vote, not, you said your motion, rescind your motion, that's what I was making sure.
Mr. Barnes is going to bust if we don't allow him to speak.
Let me just share with council that we've been working with a project, a retail project that, suffice it to say, would take a very dim view of this other proposed, I'm wearing my economic development consultant hat in this context. I've met with them, they have great ideas, they're solid financially. They have an interesting plan, and I spoke with them as recently as yesterday evening. They're interested in a couple of vacant buildings in our downtown. I would just, in addition to something in close proximity to the site, or that street, I would think they would frankly consider shuttering those plans if you had 18-wheelers going up and down South Street.
Well, my thought is the water district is gonna kill that. Between TxDOT and the water district, it's gonna kill the project anyway.
I'd rather not give the green light if we can prevent the green light from them getting
I
started.
mean, if y'all wanna revote and knock it out of the water now.
You vote?
Okay.
Can we do that, Mr.
I
Burke?
mean, you can read votes on the agenda, even though you've taken action, it's not finalized yet, so you can just, I mean, if someone wants to make a motion to reconsider, you can do that, and then go from there.
I'd like to make the motion that we can reconsider.
Second.
Ms. Newendo?
abstain.
Are we voting for reconsidering?
Just, yeah, now you do is reconsideration, and then we'll have to wait
Yeah.
for somebody to make another motion.
Okay.
Mr. Hill?
4.
Ms. Branch?
For.
Agenda item number.
So now we
Mayor,
have to
but now,
revote.
but now we gotta wait for another
How much
action.
I-
Make the motion.
Oh,
I make a motion that,
You don't
Make
have to
it-
remake the motion if it were voted to reconsider.
Well, here's, so now we're kind of at ground zero again, we're just at level. So we're just like any normal thing, so we're just waiting for a motion to approve. And if we don't get either a second,
Actually,
or no motion, or no second, or we don't get the votes, then it fails. Yeah, we could do motion to deny, but it's cleaner to do motion to approve. And so if someone wants to move to approve, you can do that.
Hold
Okay.
on, you just confused me.
Well, this is confusing, but so that now we're dealing with the item. And so just like any other time, we're waiting for a motion to approve the ordinance.
Or not approve the ordinance.
You can say, it's just, I'm just saying for record keeping, it's easier to say I move to approve, and then you get a second for that. If you don't get the second, or it just dies, or you don't get the votes, then it's understood what happened.
Okay, now I'm ready for this motion.
Mr. Hill,
There's not a point.
Ain't
so.
nobody approving.
He said,
Well, I mean, if you do deny, I mean, we'll figure it out, but just, I'm saying it's the
Do you want-
cleanest way to say to move to approve, but if you say move to deny, we'll go with it.
then I make the motion to deny ordinance number 23-707-15.
Second.
Ms. Newendorf?
Abstain.
Taylor?
4.
So just for clarity, you're for denying it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Ms. Branch?
for denying it.
Okay.
I'm gonna need a recess after that at least.
It's only
Okay, let's move forward.
Agenda item number 10, discussion and possible action regarding resolution 1422, a resolution adopting amendment of understanding riverway properties regarding a proposed residential development, including annexation and funding of the development.
Mayor, this afternoon, the developer reached out and would like us to table this. He wants to get with Mr. Pruitt on a provision of this, and feels like it can probably be worked out by the next agenda.
And agenda item number 11, discussion and possible action regarding the storage building originally intended for the use as a dog pound. Ms. Branch?
Why did Miss Branch put this on there?
I don't-
That's the head. I think we were in the middle of trying to see how much the cost would be, looking at the contract that I'm pretty sure that we've not found to see was the flooring provided or not, because nobody seems to take council's actions seriously. So, do we know does the floor?
I thought the last decision was that estimates were supposed to be brought to us to let us know how much it was gonna cost to put flooring, walls,
Storage.
electrical, and convert it into a
And
storage.
and a fence around there, and I'm pretty sure that hasn't got done thanks to the holidays and the craziness.
No, so that was the whole
Well-
point, was that the invoices and the contracts that we've been provided have been very unclear. I think one of them said it did include, the other one said that they would install it if we provided the concrete. So then, I think the last meeting we discussed, if you could come with some estimates for the cost of flooring and basically the cost to get it from the shell that it is now to what you need it to be, so that we can look at the cost.
Can you fit that into your busy schedule before the next city council meeting, Chief Miller? You think you can get estimates? Can you work with Mr. Kelly? I asked this to be tabled till the next meeting, please.
Okay.
It's just unbelievable that we can't find a contract.
Agenda item number 12, discussion and possible action to place a temporary hold on motel hotel grants until the convention center, museum, old tax office, doctor's building are completed, and to review hotel motel grant policies and procedure. Ms. Branch?
Council, I put this on there, it's we're passing out money that we don't have, that we need to use to get these buildings, now that we've acquired the museum, the doctor's office, the old tax office. And I just say that we do away with the hotel motel grants until we can recoup and finish some of the projects that we have open that we don't have funding for now.
So this includes the events too, or just the grants that we get?
Just the hotel, public hotel motel grants. It has nothing to do with city, Cinco de Mayo, July 4th, Juneteenth, Christmas, Martin Luther King. Those are the 5 that are city events.
Already city budgeted.
And it's been brought to my attention a couple of times that we're not meeting the specs to be giving away the hotel motel grants as it is. And so maybe in the meantime, somebody could do a workshop and tell us why they're not meeting the specs before we continue to make the same mistake over and over. So I guess my motion would be,
Hold on.
oh,
The Lodgers Association has two very, very good representatives that do this for cities all the time. They literally wrote the bill, to be brutally candid with you. I've been to the series of their workshops, and so inclined, I'll reach out and see if we can get them in here in the workshop.
The only thing I would add on the museum and the doctor's office building, those are projects the EDC is pricing out right now and working on. So those shouldn't be a drain on the hotel motel side. And we should, hopefully this next meeting, have some discussion on those items. So just for the entire council's edification. But I agree, we need to get some policies and procedures in place, and we need to make sure we're not
Right.
putting ourselves in a position to get that money clawed back by the state.
Mhm.
so my motion is to place a temporary hold giving out public hotel motel grants until we finish the convention center, the old tax office, and that we hold a workshop to review the hotel motel grant policies and procedures.
Second.
Ms. Newendorf,
4.
Mr. Hill,
4.
and Ms. Taylor.
4.
Okay, motion carries. Agenda item number 13, discussion and possible action, review of the recreation vehicle ordinance enforcement. Mr. Hill.
As I'm sure council and everyone's aware, we've got a lot of RVs that are being used on a permanent basis in some cases,
Parked on the street.
parked in streets. Our ordinance says they're only allowed to be used for 14 days out of a 12-month period of time. But there's some that are even plumbed with electrical and water in some places in the city. So they're obviously intended to be there much longer than temporary. And so I think we need to do a concerted effort, because some of these are just blatantly obvious. And I know we're about to hire code enforcement, or discuss hiring code enforcement. And I think that needs to be one of the priorities that's brought up is, you know, it's an eyesore in some places, especially when they're parked on the streets. Additionally, we have some deficiencies at the KOA. Our fencing requirement is not being met. And And then there's a question on potentially their licensing, if it ever got transferred to the new owner and if it's up to date every year as is required by our ordinances. So, I guess if any motion would be made, it would be to make one of the priorities of the new code enforcement officer assessing this ordinance and making sure we're enforcing it.
Justin, does it also say in our RV that a RV can be stored at your residence, but it has to have a,
Like the carport.
yeah,
Section 4.1.
Yep.
Screening will be required on any side or rear not fronting a public roadway.
right.
Shall consist of an opaque fence at least 6 feet high placed on the property line along the side and the rear. It'll also be required on street frontage, and shall be afforded through the use of natural barriers such as tree and shrubs whenever possible, either naturally in place or planted specifically for screening. Where natural barriers are not feasible, opaque privacy fences shall be constructed. In either case, a barrier must be a minimum of 6 feet tall measured from the ground level.
And is it also a true and correct statement that our police department, if someone was found living in an RV, which is totally against city ordinance, could write that person a ticket?
Yeah, they can cite them just like any other code issue here. And just the context for your RVs, they're in the, for you all, they're in the context of, you can't do permanent, permanent establishment of the thing unless you're an RV park. And that's the,
Right.
and so even all that stuff, the screening and all that is required for the RV parks. It's not something that would be applied to someone that's just sitting at somebody's house, because that wouldn't be allowed anyway. So it's not like you have something sitting in your yard and then you gotta put screening around it. That's not allowed unless it's an RV park.
Okay.
So,
14 days, cannot return for 60 days.
I know over at the KOA, there's people that's lived there for years.
Which they have a right to though, because they're.
So they're sort of grandfathered in.
right. Well, it's not that they're grandfather. You can do a, in an RV park, you can do that.
Yeah.
It's like if you had.
In an
so
RV park, it's allowed.
Yeah, so if you had something that,
Right.
I mean, I think the deal would be like if you had, say, a relative visit, and then they just, parked for the holiday or something like that, they could be there for 14 days. 15 days supposed to go out. And then the way, it's kind of hard to read, but the way that your ordinance says is they can't really return,
For 60 days.
yeah, but 60 days following 6 months consecutively, so it's kind of confusing language. But essentially, you're saying you can't do, every 6 months, you can't be there,
14 days.
Yeah, so it's really confusing. But that kind of thing is a general structure that most cities have, is like you can park for a limited amount of
Right.
time, but you just can't come back, for a set amount of time, either within a year or 6 month period, that kind of thing. And you're getting there within your ordinance, but it needs to be cleaned up.
Which makes sense. If somebody goes camping and they want to bring the RV to the house so they can pack it and then go camping and then come home and unpack it and clean it before you go park it back at your storage facility, that's the purpose of that. Or like you said, if a relative comes and visits for a short period of time. But I know we've got several RVs that have stayed there for the last 5 years that I've lived here. I don't think they've moved.
Right.
And sometimes they're difficult too, because if they're parked close to a corner and you now have traffic that's moving through, you can't see around them. I mean, it's impeding vision of
Well,
drivers.
I'm pretty sure if we would give Chief Miller the addresses to the ones that's been parked there for quite a while and give them a chance to
Move.
educate them with the city ordinance
Sure.
before we just start ticketing everyone.
Okay, any further discussion? Motion?
Make the motion that we provide Chief Miller with a list of properties to educate before citate. And then we also direct whomever our new code enforcement officer will be to start implementing a process to make sure this ordinance is being followed.
Second.
Mr. Stamps?
Four.
Ms. Nundo?
4.
And Ms. Brown?
Four.
Motion carries. Agenda number 14, discussion and possible action regarding hiring a company to do city payroll. Ms. Branch.
Well, I took it upon myself to do whoever's job, and I have found 3 companies now. We need a payroll company yesterday. And I would like to make a motion that we allow the mayor and the city administrator to look through the 3 companies and choose and implement ASAP a payroll company to take over payroll.
That's your motion?
Yes, sir.
Second.
Rondell?
4.
Hill?
4.
And Ms. Taylor.
4.
Ms. Branch, what was the name of the company?
There's 3 of them. Thank you.
Okay, agenda item number 15, discussion, the motion carried. Discussion and possible action regarding forming a senior citizen welfare committee. Mr. Hill.
There's been several residents that have asked what we're going to be doing moving into the future, especially once Convention Center opens back up, to help our senior citizens. And I think there's several things we as a city could do that aren't necessarily money costing things to engage the senior citizens of our community to make sure. One of my big concerns is the next major weather event. Have we really identified the pockets of our senior citizens? Do we have a plan in place potentially for public works to go ahead of major events and try to help address like wrapping pipes and stuff like that? Those are some of the major issues I'd like to see this type of committee look at and see what we could do better as a city. And it's not necessarily us as city council deciding that, or Mr. Kelly having to take the initiative on himself. So I'd like us to, I know we've discussed in the past of each council member picking someone to be on this committee, and I'm okay with us doing that. If y'all want to, table this to come back to the next meeting where everybody has an opportunity to bring somebody to the table that they'd like to see on that committee. Ms. Quotatious Dunn is here, and she's spoken to me about this several times. I'd like to see her head the committee up, and initially bring back some proposals to us as a council so that we can make those kind of decisions. But
Can we vote to form the committee tonight and then bring nominations next meeting?
I'm perfectly fine with that if that pleases everyone else.
How many people do you want in the committee?
All the others have 5, I think.
5 or
It's like
7.
7 or 5, something
Yeah.
like that.
Let's start with 5.
But we can't use public works, right, to go on private property to,
Not for like
Can't instruct them.
and trying to
Wrap
enforce that.
pipes
Yeah,
or
but there's kind of stuff when it's like
barricade
public emergency
waters
kind of
for
stuff,
floods or
notifications. And there's, other cities have these kind of groups where
Correct.
it may not be public works doing the notification. There could be a system that the committee figures out to
Right.
send text messages out or something like that, or post something that is more,
I'd
Yeah,
really
correct.
like to see, could we work with some of the kids at the school?
Yeah,
I mean, the
provide
school-
a community service opportunity.
Right.
United Way, we would need to engage all the community partners that are out there that have resources. And that's what this committee could do, is bring those people together, find out what the resources are, and then make suggestions of programs we can implement.
I think there's a great opportunity to even do workshops, just for educational services too. I know one of the main concerns, if you even just hint on social media right now, with all of our recent commercial development, a lot of people are concerned about the growth in the area, increasing property taxes, which our tax rate has stayed the same or gone down, but because property values are increasing, now tax is increasing. And I think that to educate our senior citizens on how they can apply for exemptions or to lock in their rates as well once they reach a certain age. Some people may not know what forms they need to fill out and where to file them and things like that.
And we also don't have a 65 and above exemption for the city. I'm not sure that we're financially ready to do that, but in the near future, we should look at freezing their taxes at
Correct.
65.
They can at least apply for homestead, though.
Oh, but I'm talking about their city tax.
Correct. No, yes, ma'am, I understand.
Okay. I move that we form the Senior Citizen Welfare Committee, and each council member brings a nominee to the next regular city council meeting.
Second.
Mr. Stamps, your vote.
4.
Ms. Taylor
4.
and Ms. Branch.
For,
So the next council meeting, I'll have a resolution. It'll be five spots, and we'll just fill it that time.
Motion carries. Agenda item number 16. Discussion and possible action regarding hiring the city code enforcement officer. Ms. Newendorf.
So over the last several meetings, I think just going back from May until now in my position, newish position still on council, I've seen a lot of inconsistencies. So there are, we have existing food trucks and then we have new ones that want to come in. We have people that are, I guess, doing things willy-nilly without getting permits and different things like that. But then it seems that there's not really any kind of enforcement that happens after the fact. We can look around the town and we see buildings that are under construction and maybe they applied for an original construction permit to begin with, but now we're like 2, 3, 4, 5+ years and the construction still isn't finished, which most construction permits are good for, I don't know, what, 6 months? And so before they have to come and reapply for a new permit or they need to hurry up and get the job done. So it's a matter of consistency. I know for myself as a council member, I don't feel good about denying someone's request for a permit or a service or an opportunity to do business whenever I know full good and well that we have other people that aren't following the rules either. And so I just want to make sure that we're consistent across the board. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If it requires a permit, get a permit. If you're not doing it right, figure out how to get it done right, or we need to shut it down and move on. But I know myself personally, I like a good food truck, but if they're not going to follow the rules, then they can't do business here. And it doesn't matter if you're a food truck or a brick and mortar or an individual doing construction or what it is. We've got to figure out how to enforce the codes, and we need to get it done. And I know that some of the feedback, to your point, Mr. Barnes, when we talked on the EDC side, some of the feedback from developers were that they're not looking at Brookshire because, for lack of for an overly simplified phrase, because Brookshire isn't pretty. And we need to figure out how to make it pretty because there's lots of buildings that I think could be really beautiful and aesthetically pleasing and attractive to businesses and retail and maybe home developers and homeowners and things like that. We've just got to be consistent. We can't, somebody can't do one thing one way and then.
I think we just got rid of one of our problems and now we just have to replace that problem.
Yes. Oh no, absolutely. So I think it needs to be, that was my whole point was just, and we need to prioritize hiring somebody and I think quickly, but then that person also needs to be directed with, to your point, the RV issue, then also just, maybe they just need to do a little education for a while of going around and contacting the people that are currently not following current ordinances and letting them know that they have a certain amount of time in order to rectify it or to come before the city hall and apply for permits or things like that. We need to get it done. Let's get it going. Yes.
For the record, I just confirmed, the code enforcement position was posted on TML by yours truly 8 days ago.
Hot diggity dog. Cool.
And it's also been posted on, I don't know how to post it on the web, I can't do the website, but it's also on LinkedIn and Facebook to our company. And candidly, we do a fair amount of recruitment for economic development, so it's a pretty widely read site, if that makes any sense.
Sure. High traffic.
To add onto that, if I might, tell me if I'm out of order, and I'll continue you to talk.
Out of order.
Thank you. I was waiting for somebody to do that.
Which is, and I said,
Objection, I don't know.
You heard the second part of that. Also positions of, permit clerk, administrative assistant, trying to, help our friend the chief, have all been posted, at least 8 days ago.
Okay.
And I've communicated with the chief, you know, it's a struggle. I think I may have sent an email out as a result of a department head meeting. I'm doing a quick and dirty survey of salaries to see if that's an impediment. As of 5 o'clock this afternoon, to my knowledge, we've not gotten any applicants for any of those positions.
That was my question. Who are they supposed to speak to?
I've got it set up, at least 2 different ways where they can apply through we don't have an online portal on our website, I don't think. I've tried to wade through it. Mr. Hill confirmed that to me today. They can apply through the portal on TML, and it'll get directed back to me. They've got my email contact. And on some of them, on one of them, I got a direct call to the chief. And on another one, my email and phone number is listed. So I've got it, you know.
I
getting
didn't
a hold
just
of
want it.
somebody
Yeah,
is not, I don't think, the problem.
okay.
And I'm trying to determine, you know, are we competitive salary-wise, you know?
Yeah, we know we got issues there.
I have an idea, but I want to at least verify it.
Procedural, I guess, not procedural, but question. Code enforcement officer, are they required to hold a commission?
No. Sorry.
That's fine. The only reason I ask is because an article that came out in TML a few days ago related to fines and fees for citations. So I just want to make sure we're not
Well, it depends what you
shooting
call 'em.
ourselves in the foot.
It takes it when you call them. If they're an official code enforcement officer, there's certifications for that.
Right.
Someone can fill that type of position, but
It does not have to be
Yeah.
a police officer.
so I mean,
Okay.
so I think, and I didn't see the posting, but I think the one I've seen in the past says that you either come and you're certified, or within a certain amount of time you can become certified, and that allows them to do that. So
You know, I'm just going to make my opinion clear. If they're not already certified, we're too far behind to
Yeah.
be training at this point. We need to find people already qualified and move forward that way.
One, I feel like we've gotten kind of, sorry to be so crass, I feel like we've gotten screwed in the past by saying, okay, we're gonna hire this person for this position and then give them time to become certified, and then it never happens.
Or they get certified and go somewhere else.
Or that.
You know, so
Yeah, we
That's how you're
pay for
paying.
their certification and then they go for
Right.
somewhere
And all of
else.
that is money lost with onboarding and investment.
Right.
I mean,
so
And they're not flooding us with applicants, so, you know, I'm trying to determine what the impediment is, and my speculation is probably salary.
Mr. Barnes,
Although I've not posted the respective salaries for the
But
record.
are these
Right.
positions on more mainstream employment sites, Indeed.com, employment
The-
development?
he said LinkedIn and
Oh,
Facebook as
Not
well.
on- they've not been posted on those. My,
And especially an admin assistant, I mean,
my,
admin assistants are gonna look on LinkedIn, they're gonna look at the Houston Chronicle, they're gonna look, in those places.
but an admin assistant of a permit clerk would probably look at a specific site like TML.
Maybe.
Statewide.
Or
I
Facebook,
can
because
assure
it's gonna
you,
be a
in
I'm
the
just saying,
40
you're not getting
Texas
any
communities
response
that
on
I've
social
worked
media
in,
looking for a job change.
Would be a.
Because it's not,
I
that's
don't
not a
have a
high-paying
problem
job.
with that.
we need to reach out to the Texas workforce.
We're in the
Commission.
process of that.
Sealy holds job fairs, seems like once a month. So if we could get in with the one in the outlet mall and get some information on how to hook up with them in the job fairs.
That's a good idea. The local people. Maybe some fresh college kids.
Okay, people.
I don't know that there's any action that's needed on here. I just wanted to make it public record
I
that,
appreciate that.
yeah.
Staff or whatever contract level, I couldn't agree with you more, but I didn't want you to think that we hadn't posted.
I appreciate it. And I think you kind of wrapped up
Number
17 for us.
17, so that's,
Yeah.
What's that?
You wrapped up
Wrapped up
agenda
17
item
for
number
us.
17 for us.
I'm sorry,
No,
That's
don't
good.
apologize.
2 for 1.
2 for 1 special.
Said the same thing.
All right.
On 17, if we jump to that item, the only, I would just ask, what are all the open positions? I know you've said a lot of them, but I think that the big ones are city secretary, city administrator, since you're just a lowly intern. Um,
City engineer.
Yeah, city engineer, we have an interim police chief, so police chief. So there's some big positions out there too, and.
At the risk of totally offending everybody, there is a city secretary slash finance position that is also posted on TML.
Good.
And there is also a, help me, community, planning and community development director, that's also posted on TML. There are also, back to your question, I'll defer to the chief, and I don't, for public safety, we probably don't want to talk about number of vacant officers, but suffice it to say that we've cast that net. That would be a vacancy. There are vacancies at the permit clerk level, code enforcement, city secretary. And I've combined it for finance for a couple of reasons. And we've never had a community development slash planner, but when I look at what we spend, we could save money by having one. So that's there. There's one other, crying out loud, he was getting, the elephant in the room. The public works operator position is also posted as well. I think I've covered all of them.
Yeah,
You
there's
can see
6.
them. I mean, if you go on TML, you'll see them.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. There's 6 online right now.
And the question, if they ever reach out, is gonna be, what's the pay? And
And I'm gonna tell you, it's not just this police department, it's police departments in the surrounding areas.
The smaller
That's
ones.
Everywhere.
The smaller ones, because people are not willing to, they're going to become school teachers and stuff, not to have to
Truck
put up
drivers.
with all the,
No, they're not.
okay, maybe they're
like we're
going
trying
to
to
be
leave.
nuns or something.
Seriously, yeah. Yeah, truck drivers.
Police officer, teacher, school bus driver, we're all trying to leave.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Right.
we
Disrespected in
tried
the
to
process.
address all openings and quote, even openings that I confess I wasn't specifically directed to do, but some executive. It's neat. I'm sure you.
Oh, Jesus.
We're through, we can move forward. No
Well,
action taken, or it's already been taken care of, or however you
Put all
want to
the
put it.
jobs as it has been already posted.
We're all done.
So we can move on to agenda item number 18. Discussion and possible action regarding the approval of city council meeting minutes for January 5th, 2023.
I make a motion that we approve the council meeting minutes for January the 5th, 2023.
Second.
Can we just point out that we're up to date on meeting minutes
Yes, we are.
and commend our city staff for a fantastic job with that?
Always. They've been doing a hell of a job.
Okay, Mr. Stamps, your vote, please.
4.
And Ms. Nundo.
4.
And Ms. Taylor.
4.
Hot dog.
Carries. Agenda item number 19, discussion and possible action regarding invoice payments and reports. Questions? Discussion?
There's a lot of duplicate invoices in the packet, so I'm not sure if that's a mistake or if that's Mr. Rodney or if that's intentional, but there's several duplicate invoices in the packet. So I'm not sure if that's a printing mistake or what, but it's kind of. So you may want to verify that before they get cut.
Same dates?
Mm-hmm. Invoice number, the whole 9 yards.
I'm gonna hold that comment for executive session.
Okay, what are we gonna do?
Y'all know how I feel, so don't sit here and count on me.
A motion? No, this is just for, yeah, just, that's what's going on.
Monthly
now.
expenditures, various things,
Yeah,
Verizon statements, electrical bills, all that kind of stuff.
This-
our fix.
Yeah, repairs to
I guess
things.
with no action then until we come out of this executive session, then we can
Okay.
decide.
I was gonna say, thank you for saying that, thought, but I couldn't get to it.
Agenda item number 20. Future agenda items. Mr. Stamps, I'll start with you.
I don't have it at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Newendorf?
How to word this? Discussion and possible action, visiting a city ordinance or policy with regards to, like animals. I don't wanna, but I want it to include things like vaccination certification, sterilization of animals.
You're looking to spend a whole lot of money.
No, just have an ordinance.
You're looking to spend a whole lot of money that we don't have.
Newendorf, any more?
That's it.
Mr. Hill?
Discussion and possible action, RFP for IT services for all city buildings.
Second.
Ms. Branch seconded. Mr. Stamps?
4.
Ms. Newendorf?
4.
Ms. Taylor?
Or
Mayor, did you want to take a vote on Councilman Neuendorf's?
Oh, okay. Visiting the
Just to clarify, my agenda item is not to offer for city to pay for anyone's services, but just to establish, standards for animals inside the city.
I'll second that, but I'd like for me and you to meet to go over what we already have in place, Ms. Newendorf.
Sure, no, yeah, it's to revisit whatever's already in place and see if it needs to be revamped.
I'm sure that it needs to be revamped, but we'll just take the time to visit that.
Okay, Mr. Stamps, your vote.
4.
Mr. Hill?
4.
Ms. Taylor?
or
Okay, motion carries. Mr. Hill, any more?
None other.
Ms. Taylor?
none at this time, Mayor.
Ms. Branch?
None at this time, Mayor.
What?
Hey, you ain't gonna be doing us now. You doing us too hard over here.
Okay.
Where do we get the grant? The problem that I wanna discuss at this point, the hotel motel grant, if it's gonna be revamped or whatever, we try to follow all our rules. We provide all our receipts, we do everything, we never had an issue. When we moved to another county because of the drainage or whatever, we did not cash the check, we returned, remember that? We
I
returned.
remember.
We do what we're supposed to. We have, it's a little intimidating for a word for me, as you said, you know, you kind of want to go through, be fair. It's very unfair for the hotel motel grant to be given to organizations or thrown together events that are to this year, not next year, not the year after, not the year after. They're thrown together events for the sake of, because I have the money to do it. Or clubs that do not generate even a fourth of the revenue that we bring to the city. We are residents, and we all grew up in Brookshire. We bring our, we here. Our properties, we pay property tax, we pay commercial taxes. We use our venue to help the city, to bring the revenue to the city. It's many people have access to come. We will not leave Brookshire. We don't want to leave Brookshire. We want something here in Brookshire to help develop, to bring people here to see us. We do try to, when people ask us to rent our property, to do events, we look at it as revenue for the city. We're very selective. We turn down quite a few clubs because we want the drama that it brings. We can do an event every weekend, but we don't want the drama to be extra in our city. So, please, if you can't do anything else, consider, again, that there's kind of a, we don't look for the money to put to do everything. We just like to have more rooms for our patrons, you know, the drinking and driving, we try to make it safe as possible.
Have you turned in the application?
That application was turned in back in November, again in December, and then again in January, yes.
Mr. Rodney, can you explain to council where that application may be?
I can tell you that I have an application that sat on the mayor's desk for over 30 days, and I was not granted an opportunity to come to this council to present this for those 30 days. And now, on the day that I am here, I'm told that I can't have
You're gonna get to talk, Mr. McNally. We got rules and regulations. This is city money.
I understand that. I'm just saying that.
And we can't just
They're
let
asking
any
about it, right?
Tom, Dick, or Harry come and represent the city of Brookshire. And I want to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing because, like I said earlier, since we've hired the city administrator, it has been brought to my attention that we're not following the rules and regulations that we've been giving these grants out for. They don't meet all the criteria. We don't know that because it was brought up with the other trail ride. So I don't know what he's talking about. We haven't had time because we're trying to restructure the city because we've lost many employees. And
I respect that.
Well,
I respect that.
Do you know who y'all turned it into? Who did y'all turn it into when you turned it in?
We turned it in and we emailed it and then
Okay.
we turned it in, brought it in.
Who did you brought, when you brought it in, who took it from you?
She said, bring it up to 90 days.
Who was it?
Kiki.
And she said she'll take it, but it's her. She'll take it and brought it back up. And I spoke with, Ms. Claudia. gave a copy
Hey,
to
those
her.
two are gone, so.
I'm
And who was the third one? I know.
We understand that.
Sure.
You know, we're not here to dispute anything, and whatever your wishes are, whatever you decide, we'll respect that as we have years prior. I mean,
we made a hotel grant committee where the council wasn't
Even involved. But,
involved.
well, not even
No,
that.
but they
Okay,
had a whole
last week you
committee.
said
We
you
had
guys
a
just
whole
turned one in
committee that didn't
January,
have
which-
any council people.
we turned it in when we left.
No, I'm talking about, you said you just recently turned one in. So who, okay, I'm
That's what I
asking
wanna
the
know,
last
too.
one you just turned in, the most recent. Who was it turned into?
Just to the city, period. Nobody is trying to.
I don't know who that goes to.
I know, that's why I was asking, that's why I said the recent one, the most recent.
I'm gonna tell you, that's a problem, and it's been a problem the same way with voicemail. It's still a problem. There's a little dark hole somewhere that nobody is reading
Did you have a copy?
cityofbrookshire.org's email.
And we're supposed to determine, that's with anything, that's with any problem, the dog catcher in the city. If there is no connect, you're never gonna finish it.
Right.
But I think that was a part of our effort tonight, was that we recognize that there's a problem. And so we're saying, well, hold on, let's pause it, because we need to figure out what the problem is, how to fix it, and then we can push play again moving forward. I know, and I think I can't speak for the rest of council. I don't think it's our intention to do away with hotel motel grants at all. We just want to pause it so that we can make 100% sure that we're doing everything properly before we start distributing funds again. Because yes, I think we've approved grants in the past, and then we've reimbursed different receipts for events without the follow-through of like the reporting on the back end to guarantee how many heads were in beds. I'm not familiar with your event, and I know what you're saying, that you've submitted the reports and that your event does do those things.
So, what's
Well-
y'all, it's April or March, when, so that's why they coming, because theirs is coming up, and they have it every year.
Well, and I'll tell you one of the reasons I voted to suspend and it wasn't because of any individuals. We're kind of in a position of danged if you do, danged if you don't, right? But when I was doing some research into even city events, there's some stuff that's not being followed there too.
Yes.
And that's where I asked Ms. Branch to amend her motion for this agenda item, that we look at the policies and procedures, because at events we're charging for beverages, yet staff's not been able to show me an income report we brought any money in. So I mean, there's issues that we have systemically, even as a city, that's separate from anybody else that may put on the most great events that we could possibly ask for. So that's where I'm coming from. It needs to be consistent. If we can't follow the rules as an organization, we have no business asking y'all to follow the rules either. And I want to make sure it's top-down driven, that we know we're following it.
To know the rules is number
Yeah.
one.
Yep. Yep.
When you guys come up with a committee,
There is a,
Well, we had an
This
event
committee.
planning committee for the city, but I didn't see y'all for the events.
you don't hear about anything, people call us and say, hey, Loki, can you donate, or can you help, can you help? That's all they keep here.
Yep.
So do y'all have an ETA on this pause, or is just pause until?
I think it's gonna be determined on how quickly we can revisit what the policy is and determine what the exact procedures are that need to be going forward. I mean, I wouldn't see why there would be, I mean,
should be a significant delay.
no,
but-
it shouldn't. But then also, I think anybody that would still like to apply for the grants, I don't think that there would be any reason as to why they wouldn't be able to apply for them after the fact, so.
A lot of this is
So my
state
question
driven.
for them, since they put theirs in, you know, and it's been passed by 3 people, and they still haven't, you gonna pause it, even though they had theirs in before the pause question? I mean,
Do they have time to go before the committee? Do we have time for Mr. Barnes to point out what we've been doing right and
Right.
wrong and indifferent?
and let them,
In the next month?
And then we still don't have the money. I mean, we've lost revenue from, the city hall
confused.
was closed down for 18 months. We haven't rented the convention center for 3, maybe
Year-
4
Years, yeah.
And we just don't have the money.
so I'm confused, cause I thought when, we did the MLK thing, you said we had a significant of money, so I'm like,
we used the budget that was for the MLK City Festival for that event. There's,
And there was a hotel motel grant on top of that.
So for the sake of time,
Thought.
can Mr. Barnes, you exchange information with them before they leave?
And I, sorry, I didn't hear what the event was. I'm sorry.
Key riders, we're a trail
Low key
riding association.
Okay.
We're a trail riding group, we're 17,
If-
almost 18 years.
You forgive me for my stupidity. Most of these folks are already aware of my
Well-
stupidity.
That's fine, we wear slacks and
Uh, I can get this at home.
Shots fired. Pew, 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 pew.
I mean,
But-
Are you horse or?
I can say,
For the sake of time,
That's what I'm getting ready to ask.
Mr. Barnes,
Okay,
Mr. Barnes, for the sake of time,
get me that app.
can y'all exchange information and let him?
I have no idea.
well, we'd like to know where the application is, Mike.
yeah,
That's the whole
what
problem.
that's
One
what I'm
question.
saying.
So we can't get you something that we don't have.
I can forward it to whoever needs.
Let me get it.
Exchange
Okay.
information and then,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can we go into executive session where we can do Mr. McAnally and the rest of the stuff?
So we're gonna skip 21?
Oh, I'm sorry, I already crossed it out, cause,
That's the next deal we're working on.
well, let's do 21 now.
Thank you.
Okay, since we got that on hold, let's move on to agenda item number 21. Council reports and community announcements. Mr. Stamps?
I don't have any, man.
Ms. Newendorf?
None at this time, I don't believe.
Mr. Hill?
None at this time, Mayor.
Taylor?
Our event planning committee will be meeting Monday at the library at 5 p.m.
This next
I'd
meeting.
like to know how that's, never mind, I'll talk to you afterwards, because it's not making a lot of sense.
It's not, really, it's not.
Maybe we can get clarity here in a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Any more?
That's it.
Ms. Branch?
None at this time, Mayor.
All right, next agenda is executive session, and it is 9:01.